All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to get into something that really gets to the core of how we think. We're talking about unlearning colonized thinking and what it takes to find real intellectual freedom. So, let me start with a question, and I want you to really sit with this for a second. What if some of the deepest ideas you hold aren't actually yours? What if invisible boundaries have been quietly shaping how you see the world, what you value, how you speak? That feeling that your mind might not be entirely your own, well, that's the lingering shadow of what we call colonized thinking. So, what exactly is this powerful, invisible force? Let's break it down. We're going to look at what colonized thinking actually is and explore these frameworks that we inherit, a lot of the time without even knowing it. At its heart, you can think of it as a colonization of the mind. See, colonization wasn't just about land or resources. The deeper, and you could argue more lasting form, was the colonization of thought itself. It's about imposing external values that stick around long after any physical control is gone, shaping our worldviews from the inside out. And what's really striking is just how subtle these examples are, right? I mean, these aren't some extreme, out there ideas. They're these quiet, everyday judgments that so many of us have just absorbed. They can echo down through generations, shaping our ideas of who we are, what we're worth, and even what we can imagine for ourselves. Okay, let's make this even more personal. How does this stuff actually show up in our daily lives? Let's talk about the invisible boundaries we all have to navigate, pretty much every single day. Just think about that for a second. Have you ever felt that? That little moment of hesitation, that quick switch to a more dominant language, all driven by this invisible fear that your own tongue is somehow less than? That right there, that's an internal boundary doing its work. Or maybe this one hits closer to home. That subtle act of self-censorship. You put a part of your culture away, just to avoid sticking out or to seem more mainstream. That pressure to conform, man, it is a powerful, powerful force. And this feeling, it goes deep. We can end up on this treadmill, chasing a definition of success that was just handed to us. And we feel restless, maybe even unfulfilled, because we've confused these borrowed expectations with our own authentic values. So you have to wonder, if the flags and the occupiers are mostly gone, how do these mental boundaries stay so strong? Why do they keep shaping us, even in what's supposed to be a post-colonial world? Let's look at the systems that are holding them in place. You see, these systems all work together. Language shapes how you think. If you lose a word, you can lose an entire worldview. Education systems often present one version of history as the history. Global media creates this super narrow ideal of beauty. And our economic models, well, they push a single definition of success that often ignores things like community well-being or balance with nature. Okay, so this is where we have to get really clear about the impact. Why does any of this matter so much? Because living with borrowed thoughts? Well, it comes at an incredibly high price. And here's the crucial point. This is not just some abstract intellectual exercise. It leads to a very real loss of identity and self-worth. It can keep entire communities dependent on outside solutions. But maybe the biggest cost of all, our imagination shrinks. We literally stop asking what's truly possible outside of the little pre-approved boxes we've been handed. But, and this is the hopeful part, this is not our destiny. This is something we can actively dismantle. So let's shift gears and talk about the solution. Let's talk about the journey of intentional unlearning, of reclaiming our own minds. So how do we actually do this? Well, it starts with just awareness. Asking yourself, hey, is this thought really mine? Where did it come from? Then it's about active reclamation. Proudly using your language, redefining what success means to you, consciously delinking your self-worth from what other people think. And finally, you gotta expand your mind. Read thinkers from all over the world to break out of that intellectual echo chamber. So what does life actually look like on the other side of this journey? What's the vision we're building toward? It's a future that's defined by authenticity and real intellectual freedom. The shift is pretty profound when you look at it like this. You move from self-censorship and always comparing yourself to a genuine pride in your heritage. You go from feeling like a stranger to yourself to feeling fulfilled and whole. The whole goal is to live a life that's rooted in your own authentic choices, not someone else's borrowed expectations. And let's be super clear on this crucial point. Unlearning isn't about building walls or rejecting every outside influence. It's about multiplication, not subtraction. It's about being able to finally bring your whole, authentic, and unique self to the global table. And ultimately, it all kind of boils down to this simple, powerful truth. When you are operating from your authentic core, you are truly free. And that is the foundation where real progress, healing, and innovation can actually happen. So I'll leave you with this final question to think about. After everything we've explored today, what's just one small step you can take? How will you begin to question, to unlearn, and to dissolve your own invisible boundaries, starting today? Thanks for tuning in.